and 1. So like, all of these facts that Gov pushes to us, I don't think they necessarily constitute a meaningful argument. Because at the end of the day, if you really want to get a TLDR of Gov's case, right, government bench wants a short-termist solution to a long-term problem. Because states that the African Union has current military interventions in are all states of conflict and all of the stuff that they said, right? Gov knows this through all of their introductions and through both speakers, so I don't really get why their solution wants to continue that same form of subsistence. The African Union stands at quite a unique situation where it stands as a united front for all of Africa's states within the continent. And it is now more than ever where they need to highlight themselves with the military might that they are capable of, so that the entire world doesn't just see them as the charity dump that they've already been associated with. Let's break the naivety of side government, because government thinks that this debate is purely about helping people meet their basic needs. Opposition thinks that this debate is more. It's about looking towards a more sustainable solution and putting the African Union in the best possible position to actually help out all of the subsequent states that are within that particular organization. Why are they wrong and why are we right? The first thing is that they presume that conflict will stop once people have basic human needs met. This is the PM's first argument. His mechanization as to why this is true is just on basic human need and that whole intuition pump of if they have everything that they need, they're likely not to stop, they're likely not to want to pick up a gun. Panel, this doesn't take into account what happens on the ground. Dictators, number 1, literally keep hold of their power through the same exact trick that they want to pull off. That is to say, giving a crumb of resources is what literally happens in how dictators stay into power, because they can drip feed all of their constituents. 2, this is contrary to this first line of argumentation because this necessarily has to be short-termist. Just to hammer it home, right? PM wants to do the exact same thing that we are doing. Like, if their stance is we need to clear states first and then build structures for those clear states, then that is literally what a military intervention does. They have to hammer to the point, or they have to stick to the point that they have to build humanitarian aid even if all of these states are still in conflict. 2, PM still says they'll do it smartly. Obviously, they won't pull out soldiers either way. It will be a gradual process. Problem: Gov operates on an insidious frame and on an insidious assumption where it thinks that it can start clearing out these states to begin with. They don't really build on this idea. They don't give reasons as to why this is true. We actually give contrary reasons as to why it cannot. So the core mech is left unfulfilled. Therefore, it's kind of hard to buy a lot of their particular impacts that they give to you. Lastly, Joseph breaks through Gov case when we explain that human greed and internationality exist. A lot of this is charged by what DPM doubles down on, the complex history and past. Their example on other countries asserting dominance and doubling down on weaponry is exactly what makes all other countries not want to mess with them when they know they are a force to be reckoned with. This is what the African Union is already doing, and I don't necessarily see why they should stop now. Extension: why the African Union and its constituent states need this as representation, as legitimacy, and as power throughout the international community. Why is this true? The first mech is on the inherent better way of dealing with these states' problems. The situation in Africa is bloody for a reason. States like those in Sudan face dictators and warlords frequently. Note how much this frames works against Gov case, because the funding necessarily has to go to these bad actors. They necessarily have to go through the process of warlords, which, absent any corruption, right, they systematically have to use in order to oppress targeted groups, as to why it's justified to have that military intervention to begin with. So, it's just much smarter under our paradigm for a couple of reasons. 1, you depose warlords and institute fairer or at least more competent leaders. The nuance to this particular mech, right, is that the AU, or the African Union, has direct power to actually be able to make that decision. E.g., all 55 member states have a say as to whether or not who should lead these bad countries. Two, you establish yourself as capable within the international community at the point in which you are able to get a lot of the benefits of the economy that Joseph explained in his speech. Impacts to this first mech. One, the African Union breaks the perverse systems of power that keep Somalia, that keep Sudan, that keep all of the countries found in the info slide to be disenfranchised. Note that this is particularly exclusive because government necessarily has to be in line with the fact that every attempt at food security will lead them to work with all of these nefarious actors that maybe might comply, but at the same time may also commit a genocide against their own people. Two, the African Union is able to have a better bar or a better bargaining chip because at the same exact proof or the same exact reasons that Joseph gave in his speech. Compare this with the contribution and the core analysis that we get from DPM, who ironically engages and is still going to actually contribute to position Africa as helpless, to continue to leave Africa in the state of subsistence that happens when they were in colonialism to begin with. That is to say, this military intervention is more than just them actually having these people within Africa and helping all of those military conflicts. It's a direct saying to the international community that it is something that needs to happen, and it's something that can help endeavor them to make them a lot stronger. The second mech, really quickly, is just on capacity and a better check and balance. Because granted, right, I'll be charitable. Both sides will face a key problem. That is to say, logistics. But under our paradigm, the African Union is better able to literally use these particular funding or particular money in order to depose the perverse systems of power already in place through military intervention. That is to say, you solve the core problem or you cut down the root problem because you literally try to kill or try to dispose of all of the bad actors that exist within these particular states. On side government, you don't, because you have to prioritize the people on the ground first, thereby making all of these people at the top just a lot more powerful, because obviously who else are they going to talk to in order to help people in Somalia? On our side of the house, you necessarily have to deal with the problem first. They say it's a debate on long-term sustainability, but they don't prove it. For all of those reasons, very, very proud to oppose.